Okay, today is Monday, and I don't know the exact date, so don't crush me on this. But I thought I'd do something a little differently today. I'm trying to do it on my phone, my other phone. I actually have two phones out here, so I can do this. And all of a sudden, there it is. All right, you ready? All right. Instead of the normal Cobra Quickie song, we're going to do something a little different. Let's see how this works. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Maybe I'll get deleted from YouTube. But, of course, I can always post this on Facebook, which will be slower than all get out. Let's turn this right way. Everybody ready? Let me play you the song of my people. Hope you can hear that. Ah, yes, the stirring themes of yesteryear. Actually, this has a lot to do with the Cobra when you think about it. This came out during the same period of time as the Shelby Cobra. Yes, it did. Check it out. Now, of course, the theme is Johnny Quest. And like Johnny Quest, I tend to wear black shirts, blue jeans, or did he wear khakis? I can't remember. And race band, and of course, was a Marine. Dr. Benton Quest was a mad scientist. I figure out, and Haji, of course, and Bandit. I have a dog named Bandit. Go figure. Now, this all relates to all of the work we do here. Now, today I'm going to take a break from working on the Cobra. Yesterday I had a whole bunch of stuff I did around the house, including reset my fans for winter. Oh yes, that's a thing. I turned a little switch on the fan so that instead of blowing down, they suck up the air, which is good for the fans every year.
Johnny Quest, brought to you by...
Oh, wait. Brought to you by Mike's, or Classic Mike's Cobras. This is, of course, the ending part, which is equally as good. I'm surprised that in all of his moves, if Carroll Shelby had had any intelligence, he would have had at least one Cobra scene in Johnny Quest. Now, where were we? Oh, yes. What am I going to do today? I have to get all the work done, to get the brakes done on the Geo. This is very important because my diesel truck uses a lot of diesel fuel. It's not meant for going around town. The Geo, however, is insanely practical about going around town. And now that I fixed the fuel filter in the back that was leaking, I should be getting somewhere up around 30 miles to the gallon. Of course, that's if the brakes are working properly. And by properly, I mean when I step on them, they don't lock up and cause me to skid to a stop. Yes, that's what's been happening with the Geo. Now, I've already done the backs. I have the pads for the front. I basically have to jack the back up. Yes, and take the drum off of one side, the driver's side, of course, because the passenger side's working exactly the way it's supposed to. But I got the driver's side off, figure out what I did wrong, adjust it properly, put the drum back on, and then turn the car around, bring it back to my pad where I do all the work on the Geo, and then lift the front up, take the wheels off, yada, 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 pump the brakes, make sure I put the brakes back on the right spot, and make sure that all four wheels work the way they're supposed to. And then I'll be done with the geos. And this is very important because this allows me to run parts over to the fabrication shop and make sure they get done right. And then pick up all those little pieces that I need to do the car. Speaking of those pieces, and I'm going to show you them right now as soon as I figure out where I put them. Now, these are going to be my radiator mounts for the radiator. I'm not going to pick up the radiator. You guys know what a radiator looks like. It's aluminum, but at some point in time, let's see if we can take this down here. You will notice that this car has no radiator mounts. That's a big problem for me. Let's see if we can twist this a little bit. No, not going to work. So, thanks to Tony, I now know where the radiator mounts go. And thanks to Tony's clever measurements of not only the top, but the underside of the bumper bracket or bumper tube in the front, I now know what angle it's going to sit on. First things first, I'm going to take everything I need somehow appeared over there so I can have a clear bench to work on. This is a soapstone pencil. Somehow my grease pencils disappeared. I believe it was my dog's or the cat. I believe more likely it was the barn cat who believes this whole area belongs to him and likes to sleep on any unattended spot. He also has a way of climbing up into the attic that I have no idea what he does with it, how he does that. So, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to take this. I'm going to position it with on the side rail with a clamp. I'm then going to mark it with the sides or with the soapstone so I know where it needs to go. But why don't I just weld it in there? Slight problem. The radiator is about a 1/4 inch too big on each side between the rail and this tube. So what I have to do is I have to cut a section out of this tube so that when I put it into place and weld it all the way around, it becomes part of the frame that extends forward to the bumper. Now once I have that and it's welded, wait, there's one other thing I want you to see. Okay. This little box that says right here will allow me to ensure that no matter how I put this in, I will have an exact measurement on both sides of the angle of attack for the radiator. And that's very important for us because we want to make sure that we don't twist the radiator. Yeah. Next time I'm going to figure out how to do this where at the end of the video, we have the closing theme for Johnny Quest or something appropriate. Now, we're working up on 10 minutes. Okay, first things first. Got to fix the geo brakes. Got to be done today. If it's not done today, I'm toast because my wife is really PO'd that I am not driving the Geo everywhere like I used to. And trust me when I tell you that the Geo has been my main form of transportation for at least 8 or 9 years. Now, what do we got also here? We're going to go a little long, I don't care. Brake, high temp, brake bearing grease for front wheel hubs. Now, this is not for the Geo. Because the Geo is 4-wheel drive and doesn't need this stuff. What this is for is for the front brakes on the Cobra, which I am replacing all the way around. And the reason I'm replacing them all the way around is I inspected them. The rear brakes are past the limits of their usefulness. That's a bad sign. That's a bad thing. They are hopelessly grooved, and because this car has been sitting out in the weather for a few years, unfortunately, or at least the frame has, the discs are hopelessly corroded. And I say that they are hopelessly corroded as a certified expert in corrosion control. You didn't know that, did you? I was certified by the United States Marine Corps as a corrosion control NCOIC and actually ran a corrosion control shop for a short period of time in MCAS New River and NAS Atlanta. Thankfully, I didn't have to run it on the boat that are on the 2 boats I've been on are at Okinawa or Camp Pendleton. But I am a corrosion control NCOIC, meaning I have been to the NAVAIR SysComs schools that you have to go through to learn how to work in corrosion control. They're very, very extensive. Taught me a lot about chemicals and how to remove corrosion, as well they should. So, all 4 discs coming off. Now, you might ask, well, is that a Mustang 2 disc? No, it's not. That's something I discovered quite by accident while I was trying to figure out what disc it was. The front disc are off a 1978 T-Bird. Now, that means most likely, I'll say this most likely, I don't know for sure, but the spindle, let's go take a look at the spindle together, okay? You don't mind, do you? Here it is. Now, hope you can see that. I can't see myself, so I don't know if you see it. You see the spindle? I believe, and I haven't taken it off and wire brushed it, but I believe that is a spindle for a 1978 T-Bird as well. It's also missing something I desperately need. I don't know where to find it, and I got to think real hard about whether or not I need it. Is the back dust shield. It doesn't have a dust shield. Neither does this side over here, which is still intact. I haven't taken it apart. Well, so what do we know? If you want 5 lugs on your front of your Cobra, you want to use a 1978 T-Bird disc brake setup. Now, you may also have to use the spindle, which may work exactly with the Mustang 2 front suspension. Now, the owner of the car had previously mentioned something about some sort of issue with the ball joints. Maybe they were, the first set he got were too small, which leads me to believe that we may also have to change the ball joints as well on the upper and lower control arms. I don't know that for certain. So take this in with a bit of salt. If you're able to get a a 78 Mustang or 78 T-Bird. This T-Bird front suspension, and you're able to check them. You'll be able to find out whether or not the T-Bird spindles are different from the Mustang 2 spindles. Now there's a way you can check. There's actually a manual for doing this that most junkyards have. I believe it's called the Hollis manual or something like that. Don't quote me. I remember having one during my time at Classic Motor Carriages. It's roughly this thick in paper, and I had a paper version, and I would open it up whenever I needed to find out what parts fit what. It was very important to our research and development of the Cobra, and I did a lot of it. I used it often to determine what parts came on what cars. Like, say, it's nowhere. Oh, yes, the master cylinders. One of the things you want to know is when you're building a kit cars, you want to know how many cars those parts came off of. So like a steering column, if I look up a Camaro steering column or a Chevette steering column, we use both types, I could then look in the Hollis manual, which I believe is the name. I may be wrong, but I could look in the Hollis manual and see every year, every car, every manufacturer that used that same item. Real trick, okay? And I mean that sincerely. A real trick to solving all sorts of different problems. Now, I have to rebuild these. I have to take the bearings out. I have to take the seals off. I have to completely disassemble the front disc. Okay, something I'm not looking forward to. And why do I have this? Well, guess what? Somebody didn't pack the bearings properly and didn't put enough bearing grease in there. Now, had I moved to the point where I actually tried to drive this thing with the original brakes, I would have destroyed the spindles and the bearings inside the disc in a matter of minutes. Yeah, it's one of the reasons I hate following up on somebody else's work. Not that the owner did it, I don't know who did it, but I will tell you this, somebody screwed up and now I gotta fix it. You know, this is one of those things, you know, when you work on cars that people have already started, or when you work on a car you bought from someone else, you're going to run into these issues where something's just not right or something's been modified, and you have to figure out how to bring everything back into line. My personal name for this is the domino theory. And the domino theory basically applies to a number of different problems we'll encounter when we're going to change things from what they were. Specifically, put on a bigger carburetor, put on a new intake, put air conditioning on this car. You open up a can of worms. Now, the only way to fix the can of worms is to push all the dominoes down. And as the dominoes fall, you figure out what you have to change to make things right. And that's why I call it the domino theory. We're going to start fixing things until everything works the way it's supposed to. And yeah, that's a good place to end this video. First, the Geo. First, the Geo. The Geo's around the corner. Here we go. Oh, by the way, I got to show you this in a second. But here's the Geo. You can see where I'm going to be working on it. Now, I showed you these before, but now I'm going to show you all the pieces, and they are quite honestly beautiful. I can highly recommend the Raptor liner process as something if you're building a car from scratch or from the beginning and you have a Street Beast car. I recommend you do this to every piece on the car that is either white or not, the body, interior pieces. These are considered interior pieces because they are part of the understructure of the car. That includes the trunk liner in the back. That also includes the rear cockpit liner that's also in the back. Those two pieces are considered interior pieces, and originally they would have been done in black gel coat, but Street Beast changed that so that they were done or gel coated in white, the quote unquote paintable white. Okay, you don't want to use it on the body. You want to use it on, you could do it on the body. I've seen cars that have been Raptor lined on the outside, mostly Jeeps and things like, oddly enough, Geos. I better get to work on it. Anyway, that's all I have to say for now, and I hope you haven't enjoyed this video. I only do this so you know where I'm at, and so that the owner sees what I am doing. He's not going to like the fact that I'm working on the Geo, but he understands that that is my, that's my go-getter. And the go-getters have been not going anywhere for at least a month, and I have to get that fixed today, or else I'll be sleeping with the dogs. This is Mike over and out.